Hello, baseball fans. Matthew here with another edition of the British Baseball Podcast. This week, joined by Richard, the chairman of Bristol Baseball Club, and Jack from Bracknell Baseball. I had an open invite to try and get some brainstorming ideas for the think tank idea that Roddy came up with. I know I keep crediting it to Richard, but apparently this is all Roddy's idea. So this week, please don't think this is me telling people how to run their baseball clubs. This was an idea that's come out of Bristol Baseball to try and get clubs to pool their resources and their ideas and their best practices so that we can look at what other clubs are doing well, what other clubs need help with, and try and help each other out as a community and see if we can help each other grow. So it's not a long conversation, probably about 40 minutes or so I really hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll see you soon. You're listening to the British Baseball Podcast. And joining me in today's episode of the British Baseball Podcast, I'm delighted to have back in the hot seat Richard Evans, who is the chairman of Bristol Baseball, and alongside him is Jak Ford-Lane, the manager, pitcher, lord of Bracknell Baseball himself. Jak Ford-Lane, how are you, sir?
Yeah, really good. Thank you for putting in the law of the baseball team.
You were very insistent that it was Lord. So
yeah. In fairness, I would have immediately left if you didn't say
it. Anything to keep my guests happy, you know how it is. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. We did have a few other guests lined up, unfortunately, due to different circumstances. They couldn't be with us. Today, we're talking about the British Baseball think tank idea, which was back in July. I had Roddy and Richard on the show as guests to talk about Bristol Baseball. And when we finished recording, we're talking off air. And I've been crediting Richard with this idea, but he's saying it's actually Roddy that came up with it, of a think tank where baseball clubs can come together and put ideas together for what's working, what's not working, and then hopefully we can try and pool these ideas and resources and try and help each other out as a baseball community. And the topics we're sort of looking at are recruitment, money promotion, governance and sustainability, and any other bits and pieces that we can think of. So Richard, I will let you start us off because this idea is superb. I think it's a cracking thing. Where do you want to begin?
Well, I think that the most important thing is that there are 60-odd clubs across England and Scotland and Wales, not including universities, who are all in various stages of growth and newness. And I'm sure that every one of those 60-odd clubs does something really well, but needs help doing other things. And I think we can all learn it's a very much amateur sport. It's not, cricket, football or rugby where there are national professional aspects of the game. And, it's all voluntary. And I think if we can get together as a sport, as clubs, and say, really, as a club, we need help doing X, and we can find a club that is very good at that and share that amongst everybody else. And I think that only has to be good for the whole game, and particularly the sustainability of clubs. And what we're really after is creating clubs that are sustainable and continue to grow over a long period of time. What we don't want is a club to set up and 2 years later it just disappears because it hasn't been able to recruit enough players, or the money situation's been not good. So I think any way that we can begin to share good practice, which is what it's really about, has to be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Jak, anything you'd like to add?
Only on the part of that all clubs are at different stages, and I think also for example, at Bracknell we're at a stage which I think people wouldn't expect in terms of we've been around for a long time, but we've had to restart the whole sort of process again, because we had, when I joined, basically six players, and I think it's important to help share the information, because I came in as manager of Bracknell with pretty much no knowledge at all. So this sort of thing would have helped massively and been really important. And so I want to bring other managers to it as well. We can all share the information.
That's great. Are either of you wanting to put your swords on and say where you think your own clubs possibly need help or improving?
I think from Bristol's point of view, one of the areas that we've always looked at is money. We're very good, I have to say, at budgeting, of working out where the money's got to come from. It comes from our players, but it's all done within a very tight budget. And we have our current treasurer is, to be honest, he's quite hard about how we spend our money. We all want to go out and buy stuff, and he's always saying, no, we can't do it because we won't have any money left in the bank account. So he's been really good. It's the stuff on top of that. It's the grants. It's looking for money for local authorities. It's crowd funding. It's all that sort of thing that I think we could benefit from. Because otherwise, financially, I think we're in a very good position. But that's only been down to the hard work of the treasurer and how the club has developed over the last few years. But we do need that extra kick, like most clubs, for facilities development, for example. I mean, we have a 5-year plan from this year to 2026. Included in that is the development of our field at Somerdale. But that's only going to happen with additional funding from outside the club, so grants and stuff like that.
Okay. Jack?
I think exactly the same for our team. Finance and money and field maintenance is one of our biggest issues. We've got, I think personally, our recruitment's really good. Our player development's in a good place. Competitiveness, our team keeps growing and growing. But our field needs drastic maintenance, which needs money. And there is no sort of playbook on how you get that. Unless you talk to each other and get those ideas. That's definitely where we fall short, because every year I seem to be begging for more money. We also have a softball side of our team, so we get money from each side, and I also beg the softball side to see if we can put money into the field for field maintenance, developing our pitching man and stuff like that. So that's where we probably fall the weakest. Yeah.
So do you think that having a softball club and a baseball club operating out of the same location and both teams helping them out, does that ever get any sort of conflict? Like, do the softball side, if they say bring in more to one side, or is it all like a level playing field? Is everybody aware of the situation and it's all for the better of the club?
I think on the whole it's pretty beneficial. But because of the softball field being small in diameter to the baseball field, it could possibly be a thing if the softball team bring in more money, where they're like, well, you've spent whatever surplus or however money you have on helmets or bats or catcher's gear or balls or whatever it is, so we can't put it there because both teams don't use it, so it's not a good investment for the team. But I also don't really think that's necessarily as big a thing. I think it's mostly a positive, as long as both teams are bringing in the money that is expected of them. Yeah,
that's a good point. One thing I was just thinking about then when we were talking about raising funds is sponsorship. I know there's a few clubs that have either ground sponsors or shirt sponsors of some sort. Do you guys have any thoughts and opinions on sponsoring, or how to go about maybe recruiting sponsors?
No, I think that's one of the areas with grants. The grants we're sort of getting to grips with. Sponsorship is the other thing that we're looking at, and how best we can maximise that. And it's really working out how you're going to go and seek sponsors and what you're going to offer them. And I know some clubs, I can't remember who I was talking to, it may have been Brighton at the BBF finals, they're very good at it. and that's because they have a dedicated person who goes out and talks to people and says, I play for a great baseball club. We can offer you whatever it happens to be, or we need something. Would you like to sponsor it? And they get money for it. And, it's that sort of thing that I think every club could do with, because I would hasten to guess that 99% of the baseball clubs in this country rely on player subscriptions.
Okay. So do you think
to fund what they do?
You think then it could be like an infrastructure sort of thing? Like you said, you've got a treasurer, within your team. Could it be then that you have like a proper staff? So you've got like your manager and your coaches on the field, but then also like a back room staff that are responsible or designated for these sort of roles?
Well, we have, I think, 8 directors who run the club, and everybody has a specific role that they look at.
Yeah.
And it's important, I think, for clubs to get their governance structure right, and the more people that you can spread the workload over, the better. We have, coaching, we have promotion and thing. We do have fundraising, social events. Part of that, the treasurer. We have a sort of conscience, I suppose, to keep us on the straight and narrow. And we have somebody who does the website. We have a secretary. We have that governance structure set up to make sure that we know. You're back, Matt.
Yeah. I kicked myself out of my own room. I'm that interesting. No, sorry, I've got a few bandwidth issues up in the office stroke dungeon, so I do apologise. I hope you were able to get your point across and it was still recording.
Yeah, I think governance is a fancy word, but all it means is that you have the structure within your club which helps the club succeed and grow. I think sometimes it's often overlooked that you don't approach it in that way. And again, I think we're quite hard or strict, I suppose. That coach, so he's really responsible for all of that. George Brager helps him out with that, but that's about player development. It's about coaching. It's about training and all that sort of thing, and it's his responsibility. The treasurer is there to basically keep us in the black and make sure we're not overspending or doing things that are completely out of order. So everybody has their own responsibilities, and Molly Wilcox does our sort of social side, did a fantastic job with the charity event.
Yeah, she did.
And so all that sort of thing is important to any voluntary sporting club, not just baseball, but cricket, football. There has to be people who are willing to take on those jobs.
Yeah. Jack, what's the setup like in Bracknell?
We have no sponsorship, but we try to do a big thing towards it over the break between this summer. Although obviously in current situations it might be incredibly difficult to find it, more so than usual, but we'll see. But our main thing is that we've got a graphic designer who has done all sorts of graphic design projects on proposals for other professional companies, stuff like that. So he knows things that you need to put in, which helps us. Which is it's one of those things that it's just lucky to have in a team. The other side of things is that we're trying to be more prominent on social media. So we've got a couple of people dedicated specifically to social media this season on Twitter and Instagram. So we've tried to be more on that, so that when we say to places, we'd like your sponsorship, we can offer you this and we do these things, so they can sort of see that we're a good investment project, so that we have all these people coming into the team, we offer all these sorts of things. And we could also offer the company like a day of baseball or something like that, where that they come, or on a weekend they come and they play a game of softball or baseball as like a whole company to sort of bring them together. So we're trying to include that we can offer to them.
That's a good idea. I was actually thinking something not too dissimilar to that. Like if the way to maybe attract a customers to invite them now for training, let them see what the club's about, let them get a feel for the place. Worst case scenario, you might even get a couple of new members of the team. People might just fall in love with it. So I suppose that moves us on to the next bit, which is the promotion side of the section. I must say again that we're not here today to try and tell everyone how to run their clubs. This is just us bouncing ideas off each other to try and see what we can sort of think of, and then hopefully the end product will be, when my website's up and running, we can dedicate a page where clubs can say, right, well, under recruitment, this is what we do, this is what's worked, under money, promotion, governance and sustainability, and then that way it becomes like a hub, if you will.
Yeah.
Or if anyone's actually already got something set up where people can go and dedicate the time and energy to it, to find out information that way. So again, don't think that this is us telling you this is how you should be running things. It's just an idea, think tank of stuff.
I think promotion and recruitment go hand in hand, actually, because you have, if you want to recruit people, you have to make them aware that the club exists. And if you haven't got a good social media presence today, if you don't have a YouTube channel, if you're not on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, if you're not getting into the local newspapers or onto local radio stations on a regular basis, it's really difficult to raise the profile of the club. And, if you, in Bristol, for example, yes, the club is, we're the Bristol Baseball Club. We're based in Keynsham, which is between Bristol and Bath. So, our target audiences are quite varied, from Bristol, Keynsham to Bath. So we try and make, you've got to try and work that out, what your audiences are. Where do your players come from? How old are they? Are you looking at universities? Are you looking at, schools and things like that? And it takes hard work, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have to have that constant disciplined way of raising your profile, not only in the general terms, but also specifically amongst the people that you think will come and play baseball, whoever they are. And it will be different in Manchester or Bracknell than it is in Bristol.
Yeah. Jack, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, with recruitment, the only thing that I think that helped us was a ruthlessness from those members in it to get people to come and try it out. Like I said at the start, when I came into Bracknell, we had 6 or 7 players. We were borrowing players every week, and then the team was basically said they were going to fold. And that's when I said I'd just love to do a taster session for people and see if that works. And so we did that, put it out on social media, and anyone who said they were interested or were going, I'd send them a message. Someone on the team would send them a message, just say, "Hey, seen you'd be interested in this," and tried to bring them in. To get along, just to sort of put a friendly atmosphere across, though it's a personal thing, and that they're wanted and feel welcome at the team. Because I think what the most important thing for baseball in this country is that youth baseball is really important for competitiveness, but bringing adults in is important and integral for the continuance of baseball. Because if it was just youth players, it would be tiny. And we need to get more, because I came in at the age of 22, 23 to baseball. So the more adults that sort of come into the sport and see it and start to play it as a new thing, because I don't know if everyone's like me, but I wanted to just try something new. And I think a lot of adults are the same. If we offer them that and be ruthless and bring them in and show them that it's fun and show them that they're welcome in the sport, no matter what their ability is, it's a big thing, and it gets a lot of people in. And that's how we, for our first 2 years, that's sort of how we did it, just being welcoming and friendly and bringing them in. And then, being ruthless on game day when they were losing. That's not true. We were very friendly.
I think it also, I mean, it's all very well, the other side of that is it's all very well recruiting people, but actually at the end of every season, how many stay? And that's really important, because I know you will always get a turnover, but if people are only leaving because they're moving to another part of the country, or they're going back to the States or whatever, that's fine. What you're trying to avoid is people going, yeah, I really hated it, you know. And I know we do an annual survey to all our players to say, how did we do, you know? And that's done by Survey Monkey, and it's quite easy and quick to do, you know, a few questions, and it just goes through everything. Are you going to come next year? What were the managers like? What was training like? Could we do better? You know, how do we communicate with you and all that sort of thing? And it does give your committee or board of directors, whichever you have, a really clear view about things that can be improved. And as long as you act on that, then
I think that's a brilliant idea.
It goes back.
We don't do that. We
but
don't do that.
But it does go back to essentially your customer care thing. Once you again get the people in, look after them, make sure they have a good time, ask them what they thought was good and bad, and then react to that and tell them that you've changed. You know, we've changed after this year's survey. You know, we've changed one thing already, and we're going to change another couple of things, because that's how they feel, and we don't know everything. So
that's really good, especially like I said, incorporating the whole feedback of your team and your staff to see what they've liked about and what they didn't.
Yeah, and the important thing is then we've got our AGM coming up, and we will present the results to everybody.
Yeah,
and say this is what you said, and this is some of the things we're going to do. You know.
Just sort of going slightly off topic, we'll talk about sustainability in a minute. How difficult has it been with COVID, or have you found that more people have attended training sessions because it's what they love and they're finally able to? Because in Manchester we've not had any games, and there's been times when the rest of the country's been allowed to train and play, but the local councils haven't lifted the restrictions, so we were pretty much still sat watching people on social media doing their thing, and we just sat on our hands. And for me, I've tried to attend as many training sessions as possible, because I've just taken pleasure out of every minute of being part of the team. And for me, not being there at any point, it just feels like it's just the worst. So have you found that COVID's impacted your existing player pool or your club in any way?
For us, it was like a mixed bag. We had a fair few players, a handful of players say they'd like to opt out for the season. And I said at the start, if anyone doesn't want to play, it's not a problem at all. I completely understand. I was cautious myself about doing it anyway. But we have had a fair amount of new players come in, and I have no idea if the specific reasons are, if it's because of the fact that they've been sat at home for 3 months, not able to do anything, and baseball was just an option that came out of nowhere, or if it was because they've always been looking for baseball, and because they've had a fact that they could see social media or whatever, that they've had the opportunity. But we as Bracknell also this season trained and played one game at Farnham Park. So we sort of had that thing where everyone knows that baseball's there, and there's a big community there that come walking past. And we picked up two or three players just from walking past us playing and training. And they say, oh, I didn't know baseball was played in England. We were like, yeah, come join us. And we picked up 2 or 3 players just like that. And they'd been watching baseball anyway, so they did have the interest. But because of COVID, for whatever reason, we've picked up a few new players. So next season, as long as everything's okay again, and hopefully it is, we've got all those new players, and then a couple of the older players as well who opted out as well to come back in. So for us, it wasn't an awful thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think we were lucky because I think we started formally training at the beginning of July, I think, something like that. And we played games from the beginning of August. So we had competition. We was in the BBF competition, which was really good. And I think they did a fantastic job of getting clubs back to playing competitive baseball. Again, but we had to work hard. I think it's hard work because we had I think we had 50 players signed up to play at the beginning of the season, and only 2 opted out. One because he's going to Australia anyway. He's moving away completely and going back to Australia. And the other guy was, obviously worried about the health thing. But everybody else played, and 48 people signed up and played. And we had very, we worked hard to make sure the COVID regulations were abided by. Training was split between the teams, and originally in the groups of 6 that we had to do. And we ran a lot of. I think we did quiz nights every other week for players to take part in. We just did loads of stuff on our WhatsApp group to try and keep people involved.
Yeah.
And luckily, when it came to game day, we had 48 people who all wanted to play baseball, and it was great. It was good. I mean, in one way, it was great because it does actually make you look at the way you do things and change stuff the way you may have done in the past.
Yeah.
But hats off to every single member of our club who got involved and said, "Yeah, we're going to come and play."
That's lovely. So we've got a couple of topics just left to go. We've got governance and sustainability. Do you want to take us through the governance?
Well, governance is about how you run the club, and as we've talked about, money is important, recruitment is important. So there, where do you get your players from? How do you get your players? How do you keep them? But then there's things like how do you develop players? So the coaching side is important. If you've got a youth setup, that's important. The promotion side is important. Keeping the social. So it's really about making sure that you have the proper structure in place that actually allows the club to function in a good way and allows the members to think, oh, the people who run the club have got everything sorted. They know if they have a problem with a particular issue, say you've got a safeguarding officer, if somebody's got a particular problem with that, they can come to a director or they can go to a safeguarding officer. If they've got coaching issues, they want to learn something, they can go to Rod or George. And every club will be slightly different depending on how many players they've got. Do they have a women's team? Do they have a youth section? But I think it's really important that clubs take that side of it seriously. And I think one of the things that BSUK has been picked up quite recently is the governance issue as part of the charter. So do you have a board, or is it just one person who does everything, or is there a proper structure to it?
That's cool. Jack?
I think it's slightly different with us because we've also got the softball team, but we've got the committee side of things that in terms of the big picture. So we've got a whole committee with both sides where we can talk stuff out. It's always very helpful. They're lovely people and it's always very good. And then in terms of the baseball team, there's me in charge of the sort of games and the training. But we've got 2 nominated and voted for captains who the players can go to about stuff and to keep the day-to-day running. And then we have little odd job things such as the social media manager.
Yeah.
We have maintenance and equipment managers as well. So it's just basically to share the spread to players and also help them to realise how much goes into running the team. So I don't have to shout at everyone if the field's a hideous state and everyone's left after the game. Or if all the equipment's been destroyed and no one's said anything. There's other people to say, oh, okay, we need bats, we need more balls. Because if you share the spread of the workload, it's so much easier to get it going. And we've even had brand new members come in and say, I want to help out with this stuff. I love what we're doing here. I love playing. Can I just assist the guy who's doing the maintenance stuff? So it gives the new people something to focus on as well and help with the team and make them feel like they're even more integral in what's going on with all those little things.
I think the other important side of it is future planning, because Jack may get a job in Hollywood. Okay? So who's going to take over what Jack does? You know, so there's always you're always looking for new people to come on board and have specific roles, because you know, at some point people will just say, I've had enough of being a director, I just want to play. Or, you know, there's a family, they get married, have kids, don't have as much time, change jobs. So all that future proofing adds to the sustainability of the club. And you always, you know, you have to go about it in that way and look and go, oh yeah, well, you know, if they want to do it, maybe they would be interested in taking on a specific role and becoming a director or a member of the committee or however it's set up. And that's really important, because, you know, we all know that, in fact, the guy who's going to Australia was a director, but had a child, didn't want to sort of use all his time with a new child. So you go, yeah, that's fine. But, you know, you have to go, oh, okay, well, maybe so-and-so could step into that spot. If it's just in the hands of one person, that's when you get into issues, because they suddenly leave or decide they don't want to do it anymore. That's when the clubs start to run into difficulties, I think.
Thank you very much. I think that's pretty much everything on ticked off the list that we're going through. Is there anything that you think we've missed off that you want to go over or talk about from any of the sections? We're talking before about coverage in the local press.
Yeah.
Bristol Baseball Club has been very good at being covered in newspapers and on the wireless.
We get covered in newspapers every day. So yeah. Again, that's part of the promotion thing. You know, it's social media is much more widespread and important these days, because, you know, you only have to go on Twitter and have a look at how many baseball UK groups there are, how many baseball fans there are, and Facebook's the same. But again, you need somebody like, I think you said you had a social media manager, Jack, who is responsible for doing all that sort of thing. You know, I've worked in PR for, you know, a long time, and it's about making sure you do the right thing. You know, and writing a match report is, you just need experience in doing it and finding somebody who can do it. And, you know, we just we use Game Changer. So we will always take the match reports and the stats and turn it into a news story. And that goes in every Monday night with a photograph. And it's, you know, written in the style of the newspaper. We're lucky because one of our girls is a great photographer, and she joined this year. So she will take photos and she'll get a credit in the newspaper.
That's great.
But it's a regular thing. And the newspapers, whether it's Bath Chronicle, Bristol Post, the radio, who obviously don't get a photo, or even, you know, the Keynsham Voice, which is a local magazine-y type thing, a community magazine, they know they're going to get something on a certain time, so they can plan out. And it's always the same. It goes out on a Monday. It's always in the Bristol Post on a Wednesday. And we know that's going to happen, and it's every week during the season. Plus, you know, when we're doing an intro session or indoor training starts or we're hosting an event, they know what they're going to get. So it's finding somebody in the club who may have that experience or just wants to do it. Somebody may be a novelist, okay? Different style of writing, but at least they've got that basic skill of being able to write 15-word paragraphs, hopefully. In case of some novelists, they're a lot longer. But there is a skill to it in the same way there's a skill to doing the website, social media, or whatever. But it's that regularity of doing it which raises the profile. And people say, oh, we heard, you know, we had one girl who was in, she'd been to New York to see the Yankees, came back, and on the Friday we were on Radio Bristol, and she heard that interview and then got in touch to come and play. And it's that constant, you know, oh, I saw you on Facebook. You got you know, we get messages on Twitter, we get private messages on Facebook, Instagram. which is usually about trying to sell us jerseys and stuff like that. But
Oh, yeah, tell me about it.
yeah, so but it just needs somebody to do it. You know, somebody who's got the experience to be able to do it, and they can all, if they don't know that much about baseball, they can always check with one of the managers or coaches to make sure they got the terminology right. But it's, you know, it again, there's no reason why you can't have a template which people can use and just do it. And it, you know, it's just find out who the local sports journalists are, who are the editors, where's the picture desks. You've got your email list, and just send it off every Monday. You know,
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, I mean, and Western, to be fair, you know, Western Jets are good. They get in the Western Mercury. Taunton are good with the Somerset newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get in. It's just having somebody do it, you know. Or they may, you know, if they know somebody who works for the local newspaper, well, that's even better, because you can say, look, can I send you this? Yeah, okay, we'll put it in.
Awesome. Jack, anything you'd like to add? Anything that we might have missed, or anything you want to input?
The only thing I think of is having an important and an integral sort of club or team ethos for things that you know are important for the team as a manager, down to the players, even new players. We have one which I always share, and I think it's an important thing to have, so that everyone knows what they're aiming for and what they're doing.
That's cool. And what's your team ethos down in Bracknell?
The team ethos is essentially, if you're going to lose in style, and if you're going to win in style. So it's giving it everything, putting your whole commitment into the game. Because if you have one inning where you're just deciding you couldn't really care, the ball's going under your glove every single time it's hit towards you, it's draining, and you're not giving your whole to the team. It doesn't matter if you win or if you lose for us, as long as you're giving it everything. Because you know, every single team is going to win or lose. It doesn't exactly matter, but as long as you're putting everything in, then that's the main thing.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry, Richard.
Yeah, we have a code of conduct which deals with sportsmanlike stuff. And when you join the club, when you sign up, you have to tick a box which says you've read it, understood it, and will stick by it. And you know, I think it's great if you've got that club ethos. I think ours would be, we want you to be the best baseball player you can possibly be, and we will try and help you do that. You know, which is the same as yours, Jack. Really,
yeah.
But it, you know, and we do take behaviour very, very, very seriously. And I know that we've punished, if that's the right word, players. We bench them if they've not stuck to that and said, sorry, but you signed up to it, and you'll stick to it, because we want people to come to Bristol and play us, have a really good competitive game of baseball, played in the right spirit, and be able to go and have a drink afterwards in the bar and say, yeah, we really love playing Bristol. It's always good baseball. They're a good bunch of people. You don't get any stupid behaviour. You know, we're not going to say we're Virgin White, but, you know, we play it hard and we play it fair. And if people are dicks, if I can use that word, they will be benched, you know, and they'll be spoken to by their manager to say, you can't behave like that.
Right, and that is it for this episode. Okay. Richard, Jack, thank you so much again for lending me your time and for these ideas. Thank Rod for coming up with this idea, even though I'm still going to credit you, Richard.
No, but he, you know, it's the sort of thing that it was Rod's idea, and but it's the sort of thing that I think clubs need to talk about. You know, what can we do? What can we do to improve things? What can we do to improve the state of British baseball? What can we do to improve the clubs? You know, what can we do to improve individual players? And it's that type of conversation, because we all love the sport. You know, we should be having those conversations in our own clubs as well as on forums like this.
Yeah, lovely. So last word, as always, goes to the guest. Jack, the floor is yours. And if you want to say any shout outs, anything you want to add?
If you want to play baseball and you're listening to this and you don't have a team, join Bracknell. If you're cool. If you're uncool, don't join us. Obviously, we only have cool players.
That's why I don't.
Very much for having me
that's
on.
why I don't play. It's not the fact that I'm in Manchester. It's just
that's why I'm not allowed to play. Sometimes I throw it out.
Just have a beautiful cardigan I'm proud of.
Oh my word!
Sorry, mate. Go on, carry on.
No, that was. I was just saying thank you for having me on. You know, it's been great, and I would love to come back another time if that's doable.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a great idea to have a podcast as well to get people on to talk about it, because there's loads of people who could listen to it. So well done for coming up for it, Matt. It's awesome.
Thanks, dude.
Well, a big shout out to Rodri Thika, because it was his idea, and he's a very, very, very good coach. And I think just a real shout out to, members of those 60 clubs who turned up or turn out at weekends for training, during the weeks for training, with the attempt of getting better as baseball players, and all the clubs who are doing what they can to be better baseball clubs. And I think the baseball community at large deserves to do better by those clubs and by those players.
Cool. Thank you very much. Right. I will close the curtain. It is going to be Richard Evans Baseball Think Tank, because I've already got it written down in pen, and it'll look scruffy if I cross it out and put Roddy's name on it. So it's
I'd cross it out and just change it to Rodri Thika's Think Tank. He'd be very. I've got so much grief over that. So he's a very jealous individual, but no, he's a good lad.
He's got my sort code, so if he wants it changing, Roddy, you know what to send that cash on. Right, gentlemen, I will leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you again so much for joining the show, and I'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.
And there you go. So once I've got the website built, which I'll announce when I've finally got it up and done, I'm hoping that we can use a page on there just to dedicate for resources and for people to look at and share their ideas. Thank you to Richard and Jack for the time, and thank you as always to you guys and girls for listening. And I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you very much. Have a good week.